I'm Amy Weirich, District Attorney General. Today, I'm releasing to the public the complete Tennessee Bureau of Investigation file into the fatal shooting of James Kirkwood by an on-duty Shelby County Sheriff's Office deputy. When this incident happened, I was immediately notified by the Sheriff's Office. I, in turn, contacted the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation and asked them to begin conducting an investigation into the facts leading up to the fatal shooting of Mr. Kirkwood. When that investigation was complete, TBI submitted the file to my office. My team reviewed the file and, in utilizing Tennessee law, reached a conclusion. The conclusion in this case is that no charges can or should be filed against the officer involved in the fatal shooting of James Kirkwood. What I am sharing with the public today is everything that I had available in reaching this decision. I'm also sharing with the public a short PowerPoint that goes over some of the facts and some of the photographs in this case. At around 10 a.m. on August 5th, 2019, a 37-year-old woman was at a parking meter on Exchange Street in downtown Memphis near 201 Poplar. A man came up behind her and pressed his penis against her. He then asked her for 50 cents. The woman immediately went to the Criminal Justice Center 1 block away to report the incident. It's a photograph of where she was when this occurred, and in the background there is the Criminal Justice Center at 201 Poplar. The victim told a security guard about the sexual assault, and a sheriff's deputy was immediately called to begin an investigation. As the woman and the deputy stepped outside of the Criminal Justice Center, she immediately pointed out the suspect, who was standing across Poplar near a bail bond company. The suspect frequently panhandled around the Criminal Justice Center, where he was known as 50 cents, the amount that he asked for when approaching people. The suspect's real name is James Lee Kirkwood, age 49, who has convictions for rape, assaulting an officer, and violations of the sex offender registry. It's a photograph of James Kirkwood along with his identification. The deputy approached Kirkwood and began questioning him. Kirkwood abruptly ran away. The uniformed deputy pursued him through a large parking lot, shouting for him to stop. A parking lot attendant yelled to the deputy that Kirkwood had a knife in his hand. The deputy pulled out his pepper spray as he continued to chase Kirkwood. The deputy caught up with Kirkwood at North 4th Street between Exchange and Poplar, just north of the Shelby County Jail Annex. This is an aerial view of where the assault occurred, where 201 Poplar is, and where the chase happened and where it ended. Sheriff's dispatcher relays deputies' information to an MPD dispatcher. Subject armed with knife. Shots fired. Deputy reported chasing the suspect. Suspect has knife in right hand. Shots fired. Surveillance camera shows deputy and James Kirkwood at 208 North 4th Street. Deputy uses pepper spray. Kirkwood slashed the deputy with the knife. The deputy fired shots at Kirkwood. There is no sound with this video. Arriving deputies render aid to Kirkwood after the shooting. Deputy said he tried to fend off the knife attack. I knew at that point he's trying to kill me. I was afraid for my life. I pulled my gun out and shot 6 or 7 times until he stopped coming forward. Kirkwood was struck 7 times, 2 to the torso, 4 to the left arm and left shoulder, and 1 to the left hip. The deputy did not have a body-worn camera on, though several officers who arrived after the shooting did have body cameras that recorded the crime scene. This is a photograph of the deputy's injury from Mr. Kirkwood's knife. This is the knife used by Kirkwood to cut the deputy. Deputy's pepper spray. And again, an aerial view of the shooting in the shadows of 201 Poplar. According to a memorandum of understanding, the Shelby County Sheriff's Office immediately notified me when this incident occurred. I, as I mentioned earlier, immediately called the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation and asked them to send their violent crime response team to Shelby County to conduct an investigation. Legal analysis and conclusions of law. This fatal shooting occurred after a deputy in uniform chased a sexual assault suspect who was armed with a knife and who had refused repeated commands to stop. When the deputy caught up with the suspect, he used pepper spray in an effort to subdue him. Instead of surrendering, however, the suspect lunged at the deputy and slashed his arm. To prevent further attack, the deputy pulled his service weapon and shot the suspect, killing him. In reviewing an officer's use of deadly force, our U.S. Supreme Court has said the review must be made from the perspective of a reasonable officer on the scene, rather than with the 20/20 vision of hindsight. The court added that the review also must be made with allowance for the fact that police officers are often forced to make split-second judgments in circumstances that are tense, uncertain, and rapidly evolving about the amount of force necessary in a particular situation. The deputy in this case first tried the less lethal option of pepper spray and was immediately attacked and slashed with a knife by the suspect. Only then did the deputy use his firearm. Under Tennessee law, the use of deadly force by a law enforcement officer is justified in circumstances outlined in Tennessee Code Annotated 3911-620, which says in part that an officer may use deadly force when the officer has probable cause to believe that the individual to be arrested poses a threat of serious bodily injury, either to the officer or to others, unless immediately apprehended. This deputy had already sustained serious bodily injury, and it was reasonable to believe that he faced further injury had he not acted to protect himself. It is my conclusion that the deputy's actions were legally justified and that no criminal charges can or should be filed in this matter.